This video is going to be an open and honest look at why automotive YouTubers are always buying and selling a bunch of cars, and why I have to sell one of my favorite cars. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, yes, the STI is for sale, and no, the carbon fiber roof does not leak. After the last video that we had of this car, Mark took the roof back off of the car, and I've had 2 different body shops come by to give me their expertise on how to do this all properly, and we've got it reinstalled better than OEM spec, and this thing is sealed better than a submarine, I can guarantee it. We've poured water all over this car, we've had it out in the rain, and it does not leak, so we're good to go there. I feel like if I don't address that into a YouTube video, I'm gonna continue getting DMs on my Instagram. We're good. You can stop messaging me now. Thank you. And with that being said, the car is actually for sale live right now on auction on Cars and Bids. Click the link in the description below if you're interested in buying this car. Unfortunately, I wish I could keep the car as it's one of the best cars that I think I have ever had, but I just can't. Cars are kind of like tools for automotive YouTubers, and I can't afford to keep this one in my garage anymore. If you're curious on more about what I mean by that, watch this video in its entirety. Okay, so how are these cars considered tools? Obviously they're used in our videos, but how do we make money off of them? Well, let me break it down for you.
There's a few ways that YouTubers make money. The first is probably the most obvious, video ads.
We get paid indirectly through the companies that run the ads that you see in our videos. So the more people that view the ads, the more we get paid.
We work with companies that pay us to promote their products. This is a tough one because we limit who we work with since we don't want to be promoting products that we don't actually think are good, or products that might seem random. I hope you notice that we don't do a ton of standard ad reads. We try really hard to make sure the viewing experience is enjoyable for you, so we try to integrate our sponsors as best we can. Like this video's sponsor.
Cars and Bids, Cars and Bids, Cars and Bids, Cars and Bids, Cars and Bids.
If you build up your brand enough and get good graphic designers, you can sell products to your viewers that will obviously net you a profit from them. Because we don't like overly advertising, we haven't done a ton of this, so this isn't a big revenue stream for us. Essentially, a YouTuber's revenue boils down to these 3 sources. All of these sources depend on views. The more views, the more money. It might look like the grass is always greener, and it's cool that I have so many amazing cars in my garage. And when you look at other YouTubers, it can get even crazier.
But in reality, I'm at the mercy of the YouTube algorithm with these cars, and so are all the other automotive YouTubers.
Sometimes it seems like YouTubers buy and sell cars every day, and here at Gears and Gasoline, we've tried really hard not to do that. We really like the cars that we have, and we grow attachments to them. But we're at the mercy of the YouTube algorithm, because we're almost required to buy some of these cars in order to sustain the views that we need to make a living. Buying new cars on YouTube is almost guaranteed to bring in more views. But why is that?
A lot of people find really good results with new cars. Roman Atwood actually talked to me about this, man. It must have been like 15 years ago at this point. The analogy is like if it's something that would have your neighborhood talking, it's going to do really well as a YouTube video. So you think about like, okay, in your neighborhood, what are the big moments in someone's life that would have the neighborhood talking? If they have a kid, if they're in the hospital, if they get a new car, if they get a new house, if they get into a car accident. There's like this thing inside of us where certain life events will strike an emotional chord, and buying a new car is one of them. So I think that's a big reason why new car videos have a lot of success for people.
So new car videos typically do well, but we're not all algorithm machines. We're people just like you, and we grow attachments to the cars that we buy, which is why we end up with a lot of them, because it's hard to let go.
All right.
No, hey there.
Well, I'm Peter from Speed Academy, and
I'm Dave from Speed Academy, and we own too many cars.
What is it about YouTube channels and automotive YouTube channels, and why do we all have so many cars?
that's a great question. I think we need cars to create content ultimately, and it's you need to like have cars ready to go, right? So for me, we're always shopping like maybe 6 months in advance sometimes, and there is kind of, I think, the personal side of, oh, if you see a deal come up,
Yeah.
you see that deal and you're
Yeah,
like, man, you know,
just
that
happened.
might make a good car
Yeah.
for a future video series.
Yeah.
With YouTube, you gotta be on the ball there. So
It's actually kind of the opposite mentality from what you might think. Somebody that owns a bunch of cars looks rich from the outside because look at everything that they have. But it's actually a scarcity mindset for us. We have these cars because we're worried about our content and worried about having the tools that we need in order to create the content that puts food on the table. It's actually a bit of a cruel joke because we get the opportunity to own these cars for a small time frame, but we know deep down that we can't keep them forever and we have to keep turning them over in order to make content.
I see you. You're muted.
Benjamin.
All right, we're good. How many cars do you have? Last time we talked, it was like 9.
My issue that I'm running into now is I have too many. I have too many cars that I'm passionate about. And, you know, I am at the point where like I have to start deciding, is it worth the space to keep this car? Or do I need to let something go to, you know, get something bigger and better in and where, you know, where I want to be in the future? But, you know, now in the position that I'm in, I have to start making space for content and, you know, building cars to, you know, keep what we're doing going.
Videos with new car purchases always perform better. It gets more views, which means more ad revenue and more money. New cars on the channel also means that we can do more with them. We can go racing them, we can modify them, we can road trip them. And that means more videos, which means more ad revenue and more video sponsorships, which means more money.
With what we do, we have to keep things fresh. Whether it's doing a crazy new build on a current project or it's like bringing something new and fresh in. I mean, people are clicking everywhere and every app and whatever. It's almost, you got to keep it fresh over and over and over again. That's what social media and what we do is all about. It's just harder for us if we really appreciate cars and love cars and you're buying what you really love. It makes it a little bit harder for us to let them go.
this is a business for us, and a lot of people relate to us because they feel this like personal connection, which is completely fair, but they forget that this is our livelihood, right? So a lot of these cars, people get disappointed, like, oh my goodness, you're selling another car, but they don't really get the concept of like insurance and everything, space, taking that up, like that needs to be invested into the next project to create content, right? And I think that's where the true cycle is, like you need the capital, the money to continue to do what we do, right?
I mean, as a car guy, I know I personally enjoy experiencing lots of different things, and that's part of the benefit of doing what we do is that we have the excuse to do that. And I mean, you're in the same boat. Why not sell the STI and build something else and experience something else? It just broadens your perspective on car culture, makes you a better YouTuber if you've experienced more stuff.
Cars don't actually cost that much to own if you're going to sell it again. If you buy a car for $10,000 and sell it in a year for $8,000, it really only cost you $2,000. Cars are depreciating assets, so I don't expect to sell cars for what I paid for them, but the difference should still not be too bad. For a $100,000 car, it might depreciate to $80,000. So it would effectively cost me $20,000 to own, with a lot of risk. If I make 10 videos on that car and get 5 million views, I'll earn a whole lot more than that $20,000 that it cost me to own that car. So buying and selling cars is kind of my job.
This is my new to me 1993 Mazda FD RX-7. Actually bought that car entirely for parts.
Ben, how did I let you convince me to buy another Honda?
I'm back in a Subaru.
I try to sell as little as possible since I like the cars that I've bought, but at the end of the day, they're not really mine. They're just the tools that I use.
There's really nothing left that I can do to this car. I've already done everything that I can to make it the ultimate daily driver. Doing anything further would be really expensive and kind of ruin the whole idea of building the perfect daily driver. And when the cars get to be super nice and super expensive, like this STI with over $100,000 into it, well then I get a lot of anxiety. It's fun to drive these cars around, but it's also stressful.
Stressful to own because of the potential risk of something happening to it, stressful to deal with the maintenance on them and parts breaking, and stressful to deal with the toxic opinions that follow them in the YouTube comments. So why don't we do a giveaway?
Well, in order to give away a car, merch sales have to be high enough to pay for it. When YouTubers give away a car, it's because they know they can get more money off of selling the merch and the raffle tickets than they can on the car itself.
For sure. I mean, like I won't do a giveaway if I don't think that we can sell enough to pay for the giveaway car. But depending on the car or what we're giving away, I would say I've seen anywhere from 2 to 10x what normal sales would be during any given period.
I've noticed a lot of people that aren't in the YouTube space just feel like YouTubers are giving away cars now and that they just kind of expect any car that a YouTuber gets rid of is going to be given away. And the reality of it is like, we can't afford to do that. It's not, nobody's giving cars for free. It's an exchange still happening.
Yeah. And I think you need to have a certain, fan base that it's going to be a win-win situation. You never want to really like lose your shirt on a giveaway car. And I think channels like ours, it would be like a 50-50 where you might, it might make it there and it might not. And then what's the point of that? Where for us, it's always like, look, we can sell these vehicles. We know what we need to get out of them. And it's a much safer play that way.
I wish we could give away the STI, but there's just no way that we could do it realistically. I could list the car for sale on Facebook and deal with all of the baggage that comes along with that. But I'd rather sell the car on auction, because I feel like auctions are a more pleasant experience for both the buyer and the seller. And on the auction price, the price is what it is. The car sells for what it sells for, and that's what it's worth. Not some random price that you set and then deal with people complaining that it's too much or too little. Cars and Bids is the best place for this. Sellers can list for free and the buyers only pay a 4.5% fee. There's almost 500,000 registered users with over 16,000 auctions completed. It's the best in class speed to auction with great live auction moderation and post-sale support. They also have an 85% sale rate. But with my car, it'll be a 100% sale rate because I've got it listed with no reserve. And it was also founded by a fellow car YouTuber, Doug DeMuro.
I think that if you're a seller selling on, the biggest benefit of Cars and Bids is that it amplifies your listing. So if you put your car on Facebook Marketplace, you're pretty much only going to be reaching like local buyers, right? And it's going to be the type of people who you're on Facebook Marketplace, I think we all know what that means. But Cars and Bids is national, and an enormous number of people who buy cars ship them. And so you end up getting the possibility that someone will see the car somewhere else and be fighting with someone else who sees the car somewhere else, and then, bidding goes higher, et cetera, et cetera.
Before I got off the call with Doug, we actually got a little distracted looking at the auction listing.
I'm excited to see the video and to see the auction go live. I'm sitting here looking at it right now.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
I can't believe how modded this car is.
Biggest regret is that roof. That was such a pain, and I ended up spending over 10 grand just putting that in. But it's an OEM, S209 carbon roof, but it was such a nightmare to put in. We didn't realize we bought like a cut roof from another car. The structure underneath is different because it bolts up. But the regular STIs don't have the core support structure underneath for the bolts and everything. So there's no way to seal it without the structure. So we had to weld over all the new brackets and everything to get it to, it was a nightmare.
Wow. Suddenly we've learned why S209s cost so much money. There actually are some benefits.
It's sad to see the STI go, but someone else is going to be very happy to own it, and the next owner will probably get more use out of it than I will. I wish I didn't need the money for other projects, but unfortunately, that's reality.
The money from the sale of this car is going to go towards future projects that you're going to see on the channel, so make sure you subscribe so you see those. We've got some pretty cool stuff coming. Also, thanks to Cars and Bids for sponsoring this video. If you're interested in buying the car, or if you want to see other cars for sale on Cars and Bids, check out the link in the description below. We'll see you on the next episode.